Hello and welcome to Threefold Herbal Healing. I'm Herbalist Leo. I help people who feel sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, people who struggle with chronic conditions for a long period of time. I help them grow health from the root up. And today I want to share a little bit of lifestyle tips for people with ADHD. It's the fourth video in a series of 4 videos about ADHD. So if you're really interested in the topic, I suggest you go back and see the first 3 before you watch this one. Otherwise, you can watch this one separately. So let's dive right into the topic. Many people with ADHD need stimulant medicine like Adarell or Ritalin to maintain a steady alertness level. At the same time, lifestyle can play a vital role in supporting all brain functions. Lifestyle choices like diet, exercise, and sleep can help grow the parts of the brain that are involved in self-regulation. So last week, I talked about diet and I gave some tips for diet for people with ADHD that are actually important for everybody with a brain. This week, I'm going to talk more about the way exercise and movement and sleep can support the person with ADHD. While the brain continues to develop throughout life, its development during childhood is dramatic. Therefore, early lifestyle intervention can have a striking effect on growing brain centers and networks that tends to lag behind in children with ADHD. That's by no means mean that if you are an adult with ADHD, you shouldn't adopt lifestyle tips that I'm going to talk about. You can still benefit from them in any age. So let's talk about movement a little bit and how movement can help the person with ADHD. We know that exercise can be medicine for many conditions, from diabetes to bone loss. But can it benefit the child with ADHD, and how? An exercise routine at any age leads to epigenetic changes throughout the body, including the brain. Exercise can exert brain growth, specifically in areas of the brain such as the hippocampus, basal ganglia, and frontal cortex, which are fundamental for self-regulation and executive functions. For developing children, aerobic exercise can expand the size of the brain connections, the frontal cortex, and brain chemicals such as serotonin and dopamine that support self-regulation. So, what type of movements are we talking about? The first one is free play, and free play is really crucial for children's development. For young children, free play involves large motor activities such as running, jumping, climbing, that allows them to develop problem solving, coping mechanisms, imagination, and independent learning skills. Another type of movement is, of course, sport. Sports can play an essential role as they help the child develop self-discipline and the ability to work in a team as a social experience. For people with ADHD, who a lot of times struggle with self-esteem, if they excel in a sport, it can be really a boost to their self-esteem. And there are some sports that support brain development more. Those are the sports where you exercise more and work in a team. Basketball, tennis, track. There is a lot of exercise opportunity in them. There is a lot of movement. Others that are less preferable are stuff like golf, where you drive from place to place in those golf carts. So what about exercise and the brain? How does it work? Exercise is beneficial because cognitive and motor development happens together in the brain. In the brain, areas that involved in motor activity are connected to areas of executive function, such as the prefrontal cortex. The motor cortex is a brain area responsible for planning and executing movement. Studies have found increased activity and connectivity in this region in children who exercise, suggesting that exercise can reduce the tendency of people with ADHD to be clumsy or to fidget. The basal ganglia is a group of subcortical structures that play a crucial role in initiating the proper sequence and timing of movement and selecting the most appropriate for a given motor need. For example, somebody throw a ball at you and you know that you need to reach with your hand and catch the ball. It's a series of movement that happens in time. Abnormalities in basal ganglia function are often observed in ADHD. Exercise enhances the development of network connection in the basal ganglia, which is lacking in some people with ADHD. The cerebellum. The cerebellum is known for its role in motor coordination, balance, cognitive and attentional processes, learning, and brain plasticity. Cerebral differences are commonly found in ADHD neuroimaging. Exercise that challenge balance, coordination, and include timing and sequence of movement can improve cerebellum development, thus increasing attention and learning capacities. Exercise that benefit children with ADHD should include complex motor learning, coordination, and aerobic challenge. Free play can provide young children with many opportunities to develop complex motor skills and coordination through running, climbing, and tumbling. Older kids might need more organized form of exercise, such as rock climbing, dance, basketball, or martial arts. Children with ADHD struggle in school because they find it challenging to sit down and focus. Therefore, they tend to have academic problems. Exercise was found to improve academic achievements more than tutoring or adding study time. Exercise was found to improve working memory, reduce impulsivity, increase alertness, and improve academic performances. Research on the effect of exercise on performances of children with ADHD found that daily exercise was more effective than a diet and had as much as 50% of the impact of medicine, which is wow. So here are some practical tips when you want to implement exercise into your life. Make sure your child or yourself get an hour of moderate exercise every day. This should include heavy breathing and sweating. Exercise at the beginning of the day will help you or your child focus when you're in school or at work. You will perform better, or they will perform better. Include activities that require cognitive challenge and coordination, such as rock climbing, martial arts, and dance. If your child excels in a sport, encourage it to take part of it. Always allow the child with ADHD some free play time, a time that is not organized, that he can choose an activity. It could be an active activity, or it could be inactive activity like watching the TV. But if the child watch a TV or read a book as part of his free play, schedule time for exercise activity that include movement. So what about sleep? Another area of lifestyle that can help people with ADHD regulate better is sleep. Many parents of children with ADHD report that their child has sleeping problems. Those reports are supported by research that found differences in gene involved in circadian clock regulation in children with ADHD. While we think of sleep as passive, our brains are active when we sleep. And basically, sleep is essential for any type of learning. During sleep, the brain grows new connections, store memories, and repair cells. Some research suggests that during sleep, the brain consolidates and stores what we learn during the day. Without sufficient sleep, learning is compromised. Sleep is also pivotal for the capacity to handle stress and emotion. And it's all like learning, handling stress and emotion are all things that people with ADHD really struggle with regulating. Lack of sleep causes symptoms that resemble ADHD, even in people that do not have ADHD, because sleep is essential to maintain the mental capacity needed for self-regulation. You don't need the research to tell you that paying attention and self-regulation are challenges without a good night's sleep. You also know that when you have a sleep debt, your patient is wearing thin and you struggle to cope with your emotion. Primary sleep disorders, such as sleep apnea or altered circadian cycle, might manifest in symptoms that mimic ADHD. For the person with ADHD with an already reduced capacity to self-regulate their thoughts, action, and feeling, insomnia poses an even more complex challenge. So, how many hours of sleep should you get? If you have a child, a young child, a preschool or kindergarten child should sleep about 11 hours a day. Some of it at night, some of it during the day, like napping in the afternoon. School-age kids need about 10 hours of sleep. Sounds a lot, right? At night, and the average adult need about 8 hours of sleep for the brain to fully rejuvenate itself. For many, this means that if the school starts at 8 a.m. in the morning and wake up time is 7, your child needs to be prepared for bed, but by 8 p.m. and avoid stimulants and electronics by 7 p.m. Most children and adults are not getting enough sleep, leading to sleep debt. And sleep debt, like I said, look very much like ADHD. Sleep and ADHD might create a vicious cycle where ADHD causes the child to feel restless. So they might have a hard time settling down and falling asleep or staying asleep, creating a sleep debt that make ADHD even worsen. And that can work in a type of cycle. Knowing how crucial sleep is for self-regulation and how many hours of sleep is required for attention, learning, stress, and emotional management is one important step in the right direction. But getting to bed in time and staying asleep is a challenge for many people, especially those who are struggling with impulsivity, aka people with ADHD. When stimulant medication like Adarell is prescribed, I suggest a sleep journal to ensure that dosage and schedule of meds intake don't interfere with sleep. In some cases, the stimulant prescribed for ADHD were found to cause temporary sleep disruption. Nevertheless, research showed that after some time, the body adjusts to the meds and sleep returns to normal. But the dosage schedule also matter. For some people, short-release medication allow a better night's sleep than long-release medication. So I'm saying like you take all the dosage in the morning and that's it. And long-release are those that taper through the day. For others, avoiding stimulant meds after noon is helpful. I suggest you consult with your psychiatrist or PCP, with the doctor that prescribed the medication, and talk with them about when to take the medication and how to space the dosage so you get a good night's sleep. So here are some tips for a good night's sleep for people with ADHD. One of the first things I say to all people is establish a sleep routine. Your body likes to predict what's going to happen and really produce the hormones according to that prediction. So if you go to bed at the same time every night, you will feel much better and you will fall asleep better and sleep better during the night. You want to avoid exercise a couple of hours before sleep time because that's released dopamine in the brain that is a stimulant. You want to avoid blue lights, including TV, about an hour before bed because blue light stimulate the release of cortisol, which keeps you alert. You don't want to have heavy meal in your stomach when you go to bed. So eat your last heavy meal a couple of hours before bed. You want to make your bedroom a sanctuary for sleep. So you don't want to have a TV in your bedroom. And yeah, it's not a party place. It's really the place where you want to wind down. So keep it simple, keep it dark. Create an environment that supports sleep. And the other thing that helps support sleep is if you engage in something that is light. So if you start to read the encyclopedia right before you go to sleep, your head will be, whoa. You want something easygoing that doesn't make you don't need to focus too much, basically. A cup of herbal tea can be beneficial in preparing your body and the atmosphere for sleep. And the other thing is that I suggest that everybody have 15 minutes of direct sun exposure first thing in the morning, because that set up the circadian cycle. If sleep hygiene doesn't help, consult a specialist to assess for primary sleep disorder. The most common sleep disorder among people with ADHD is delayed sleep syndrome, a condition in which the circadian cycle is delayed by 2 or more hours, meaning that you feel sleepy 2 or more hours after most people feel sleepy, so beyond 11 or 12 or 1 o'clock, and then you feel you can get up in the morning. Other common sleep disorders are sleep apnea and restless leg syndrome. Exercise and getting adequate sleep are essential for all of us. But for the person with ADHD, they are as crucial as the medicine they use. So guys, that was my spiel about ADHD. I think it's an important topic. I hope you find it beneficial, and I'm looking forward to reading your comment in the comments area and letting me know what you think about it. And if you have any questions, I will be delighted to answer them. Thank you and see you next week. Bye.